Repetitive Lecture 250, Grace, Faith, and Deficit, Week 4. I used the space for a short version of Dottie Titus's worksheet on the spiral of development. It is mentioned in many, many lectures, and Dottie did a great job of finding all those references and making sense of them. She also had a talent for diagrams and drawings that I'm in awe of. And they're great drawings. So I invite you to download either the worksheet in full or the newsletter in particular. Why did it impress me? Spiritual work is all abstract. There's nothing to point at, nothing to see, nothing to weigh and measure. We have to believe in our own capacity to understand what's in front of us and select how to interpret it. If you've got a bad track record, you may not have a lot of confidence in yourself about doing that. And that's why at some phases of civilization, people just want it given to them. Please just tell me what to do and I'll do it. There's a level of child consciousness in that. And the human race as a whole is evolving. And as most of you know, being an adult is hard. Way too many decisions, way too many variables, no guarantees, no safety. And even if we pretend there's safety and we superimpose a belief onto something, that just changes our perception of it. It doesn't change the reality of the situation. It could still be completely terrifying and unstable. We've just learned to relax about it. I learned something about anesthetic through various minor operations and in observing loved ones when they were having procedures done that was reinforced by a nurse. And that is that anesthetic doesn't take away the pain. It takes away how you perceive it. It allows you not to care that it hurts, to not fear the pain and just let it roll through you as a sensation. The problem with pain is it's intended to get your attention. It's intended to evoke a reaction, get out of the room, let go of the hot pot, stay away from the angry dog. And it's reinforced with our sensory apparatus. In medical procedures, this can be counterproductive. So they have found a way to disconnect the fear, the alarm system, so that you hear the alarm bell ringing and it's just ringing in the background. That's not a solution for life. It is, however, why perhaps there has been an increase in drug use, because it can feel like a solution to the difficulties of being an individual human being in a very complicated world. This lecture, Grace, Faith, and Deficit, it was expressed by several people in the weekly meetings that this felt overwhelming. A huge topic, grace and faith. And yet that is an all or nothing attitude, which is dealt with, of course, in other lectures. The idea is you don't have to have 100% faith. You don't have to believe in 100% grace. Anything that sounds like all or nothing is dualistic thinking. Again, it's an elevated form of child consciousness, of wanting things to be black or white and not knowing how to deal with the gray, so wanting that discounted. There is no gray. It's either in the black camp or the white camp. So faith, we all have. And I find that the lectures do a great job, and I try to find new examples of where you've already got faith. And the phrase is, well, I don't have enough. There isn't enough. It isn't all or nothing. And yet it is. If you've got any faith, you've got faith. It's just not well developed. Think of any skill you've attained, any level of education you've attained, any knowledge you've gathered. Of course, it's not enough. There's always more knowledge, more skill building, more experience, but you build on what you have. The same thing is true with faith. So the idea is find what you have. What do you believe in? And you may not think it solves all your problems. The idea is it does, and it has to be practiced. It has to be better understood. We have to educate ourselves on what true faith is rather than the childish versions of faith. Now, grace, which we dealt with earlier in the month, is the same way. Well, if there was grace, there wouldn't be any problems. That's not what grace is about. Grace is a capacity to believe in something bigger so that we don't get lost in the details of daily living. So we don't become discouraged in the crisis of the moment. When we're not seduced by negativity, thinking that it's going to give us certainty, when grace is understanding that the organic life is ever changing. There will never be so-called certainty. There is no bedrock. The bedrock is what we carry with us, our faith in grace. Now, the next part of this lecture, deficit, of course, is where we don't do things quite well and where that affects our belief in faith and grace. But that's why I split this in half, it was hard enough to get through the grace and faith part. We'll have more time for the deficit part. So back to this week's newsletter with the illustrations, which are in the full study guide on my website. Very often I find that certain diagrams, cartoons, visual aids, apparently I'm a very visual person as well as a kinesthetic person. The visual helps me because I can feel it in my body if I see it. So it's a combination of how I perceive the world. You may perceive best using books, written materials. You may see best when you're drawing it yourself, when you're exercising your abilities, which do not have to be expert. They just need to reflect something about you, to you. Music may help you connect. The ability to hear it somehow leads you along a path that feels spiritual, that feels like grace and faith, that allows you to be more vulnerable, be more open, be less defended against the idea. So when I try to help people understand, I'll use all the aids that I use. I use a lot of movies because they are pictures of life that are condensed and orchestrated to make a point. And it's easier to share a clip of something than to try to understand the individual unique circumstances of an individual as a teaching tool. So my invitation is, you've already got faith. And I would say that you already believe in grace. And you just need or want, or need and want more. But taking the attitude of I want more, rather than I don't have any and I got to start from scratch, is an attitude. And it is your attitude that's going to affect how you address things. So, short summary of where we've been so far in weeks 1 to 4 of Pathwork Lecture 250. I invite you to read the lecture. It can be like poetry sometimes, and to not get overwhelmed by it. You don't have to understand it in one sitting. I certainly didn't. Thanks for listening.